This story begins with a little girl with a big imagination and big dreams, growing up in a very small town. So I was raised on a farm in a very small town in eastern North Carolina. My dad was a long-distance truck driver, so he drove across country. He was gone mostly during the week, but home on the weekends. My mom was a local educator, so she taught at the local Head Start in our town. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. I've got 2 sisters and 1 brother. I'm going to tell you something about myself that you may find hard to believe, but trust me when I tell you this. I'm not a farm girl, okay? I cared less about growing up on a farm. I had big dreams. There were so many things that I wanted to do. So it was quite interesting growing up on a farm. Pretty repetitive. So there's waking up in the morning. There's doing your household chores, doing the outdoors chores, feeding the animals, going to school, coming home, doing homework, doing more chores, eat, sleep, repeat. Pretty standard stuff. My comfort area and where I find the most joy was being inside, curled up, reading a good book. I'm a nerd. I always have been. Education was my escape. And there was nothing like me just sitting down and getting lost in a good story. Now, one of my favorite fictional characters was a little girl by the name of Ramona Quimby. Ramona was mischievous, always getting into something, opinionated, and she was brave. Ramona was my hero. Now, on the few occasions that my mom did strong-arm me to get outside, I went outside and I played with my siblings. So as a kid, I was very skinny, long legs. I take the build of my dad, but I was fast, okay? I was pretty hard to catch. And I loved playing a game of tag with my siblings. But the game never lasted for too long. I always found that I got very, very winded, very tired. Lots of fatigue when I was a kid. My mom didn't understand what was causing it, so eventually she decided to take me to the doctor. And after getting a physical and getting a checkup, we learned a couple of things during that visit. We learned that I had a very slow resting heart rate, very different from the average 9-10-year-old resting heart rate. My heart rate was in the low 30s. That wasn't a good sign. Now, what we learned from the physician, it was I had a heart murmur. But he told us it was harmless. I wouldn't need to take medication. It would be something that I would eventually grow out of. So in my mind, everything was going to be okay. And everything was okay for several years after. You know, I'd still tired very easily. There was still the shortness of breath, but I coped. I learned how to pace myself. So if I was outdoor playing with my siblings and I got too tired, I slowed down. I'd take a breath. I learned how to live with it. But things took a turn for the worse for me around my senior year of high school. So my condition got so bad that I had to be admitted to the hospital. And I'll never forget the day they had taken tests. I was sitting in the hospital bed, and I see the cardiologist walk through the door. And in my mind, I always equate it to seeing the storm clouds. You see, I'm from the country, so I used to stay with my grandma during the summers. And I remember sitting out on her porch, and I would look out over the fields, and it was nothing like seeing the storm clouds coming across the field and the sky, and knowing that it was going to be a nice summer storm that was coming. It always amazed me. So seeing that physician, that cardiologist walk into the room, I saw the storm clouds. I knew it wasn't good news. We learned 2 things that day. We learned that I actually did not have a heart murmur. I call it my true diagnosis. My true diagnosis was that I had heart failure. I had right-sided heart failure, to be exact. That meant the right side of my heart wasn't pumping enough blood to my lungs. Hence the fatigue, the shortness of breath, the sometimes dizzy spells I had experienced since I was a child. The second thing we learned was this condition would not get better. It would actually deteriorate. It would get worse. And so I was going to need surgery. I was going to need to have a pacemaker implant. The storm had arrived. Now, I'm a pretty decisive person. I have always been decisive since I was a kid. And you give me the information, I think that through, and I make a decision. So after hearing my true diagnosis and hearing about the treatment, I decided. I decided that I would not have the surgery. I said I'd wait. I wait because I was a senior in high school. I was too young to have a pacemaker. Pacemakers for older people, right? I was too young. I'd wait because I was going to college. I was escaping that farm life. There was no way I was going to have surgery before I went to school. And I'd wait because unknown to anyone else outside of my household, I knew that I didn't have health insurance. My family didn't go to the doctor for annual physicals and checkups. We saw the doctor when things got bad. We saw the doctor when we needed to see the doctor. And so I understood as the oldest of 4 siblings, I understood as the daughter of a truck driver that there was no way I was going to place this financial burden on my family. So I decided I'd wait. And life went on. I graduated from high school with my other classmates, gave a good hug to the family, and said so long to the farm life. I relocated to the big city of Raleigh, where I attended North Carolina State University. Go Pack! I graduated from college, and I started my career. I got a really good job, which had really good benefits. Health insurance, to be exact. Now, the thing about good health insurance was I had the opportunity for the first time in my life to have annual physicals, annual checkups. I saw the doctor on a regular basis. And it was during one of those checkups that she referred me to see a cardiologist. Guess what? The situation was not getting better. So I went to see the cardiologist, and he gave me the same spiel I'd heard a couple of times before. You've got heart failure. It's not going to get better. You've got to have a pacemaker. Now, I'm a pretty analytical person. My motto is show me the data, okay? Show me the facts. And he showed me the facts. The situation would get worse if I did not have the surgery. My condition would continue to deteriorate. My heart rate would continue to get lower. And so I decided to have the surgery. I decided to have that surgery because I had a long life to live. Because I had to be here for my family. Because I no longer had that burden of worrying about sending my family into bankruptcy if I got a surgery. And so I made the decision. I always alluded to it being the choice. I made the choice. Within months, I had the surgery. You know, when I look back at my life and I think about that day and I think about making that choice, there are 3 words that come to my mind. Life is good. Life is good. It's been close to 20 years since I had the first surgery. There will be several surgeries to come. But 20 years since I had that first. Since that time, I've become a wife. I've become a mom. I had a healthy, mischievous little boy who turns 9 later this year. I'm blessed to still have my parents here with me, still living on the farm. Although we no longer play a game of tag, my siblings are still around. We're still close. I've had a great career where I've worked with some really great companies, really great people. I have my own business now where I'm able to work with leaders and help them to transform their organizations, transform their culture. Life is good. But this isn't how the story ends. The story is so much bigger than myself. I started working with the American Heart Association around the 2015-2016 timeframe. It was something about learning about their mission and their focus around heart health and education and prevention, doing what you can to prevent heart disease and stroke. I was sold. Since that time, I've had the opportunity to share my story with as many people as I can to advocate on prevention and heart health. Today, I serve on the board with the Triangle American Heart Association with some heart warriors where we're working to do great work in the Triangle region. One initiative that really stands close to home for me is our focus on health equity. We founded the task force around health equity to get out into the communities and to partner with women of color in the communities where they are actually doing the work, to help them and provide them with the tools and the resources that they need to help their communities around heart health education and placing a greater spotlight on health equity. I know far too well the importance and the impact of getting the wrong diagnosis. I also know the importance of being able to get the treatment sooner rather than later. No, this story does not end with me. There's so much more work that has to be done. So regardless if you're a child on the West Coast, or you're growing up in the Midwest, or if you're up north, big city, or if you're a little girl living in a small rural town with big dreams, everyone deserves the opportunity to live a healthier and a longer life, free of stroke and heart disease. There's more work to be done. So we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to push on health equity to make sure, again, that people have the opportunity to live those longer lives. Thank you.